this with planning staff when we filed with the planning board. We were told that you cannot get your frontage on a private right-of-way. So we were then compelled to use the existing 65 feet and 15 inches, 65.15 inches, or 65 inches, 65.65 feet. I keep trying to say inches, there are no inches involved. Of frontage, and divide it reasonably so that we would request the variance to the frontage requirement. And we leave the access easement on here so that it goes into the church's parking lot. And what we tried to do, we didn't really want to monkey with the lines much. So essentially, this is falling in virtually the same place it did when this was proposed as a private right-of-way. And then we just tried to chase the center of that roadway so that basically the drive aisle is virtually half on one side, half on the other. And that results in 20.5 feet for the existing house and a remaining 45.15 feet for the existing church. The only thing that's going to happen at this time is the existing house will be renovated and rehabbed and rented. That's the proposal at this time. You've all got the arguments to the variance criteria. I'm happy to go through those if you please. Happy not to if you don't need to hear them. But anyway, that and dirty story on what we're proposing here tonight.
Question, if you were allowed to use the private right-of-way as frontage, you would have more than what's required?
Correct. Both lots would have legal
Both lots would have.
Yep. Yeah.
Two questions. One, so the intent is that this will be a shared driveway?
Correct. Yeah, the existing 24 feet of pavement that currently serves both properties, or currently serves the property in both uses, will remain as such. And that's really why we were trying to just scribe the line as closely as we could down the center line of the 24-foot access drive.
I don't know if you know offhand. I know that there are regulations in the planning and the subdivision regulations relating to shared driveways. I don't recall whether those are permitted or whether you need a waiver for those. Do you know offhand?
I don't know. When we did meet with planning staff, that wasn't brought up that a waiver would be required for the shared drive. So I think if we get the relief with this board tonight, I believe we're in good shape.
And then another question, which is there is a note on the existing conditions plan that there's a use easement that seems to affect this area.
Yes.
Of the area?
Yep, I can point that out to you, Mr. Chairman. Probably do it on the one without the hatching. It'll be a little clearer. So this area you see right here is still owned by the church, but they granted this parcel a use easement for that. So in other words, they can keep their lawn and their shrubs,
okay,
that type of thing. But the property is owned by the church and just allows the abutter to continue to use it as lawn area, garden, whatever.
So it essentially takes their lot right up to the edge of the pavement?
Correct.
Okay. So they're maintaining that
That's right.
stretch, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant?
So all we're looking at is the lack of 100 feet for each of the two properties. That's correct?
That is correct.
Need to decide who's voting.
Oh, yes, thank you. Well, seeing that there's no more questions and there appears to be no one in the audience, are we still allowing Zoom?
No, we are not.
Okay.
Oh, so you have to be here, there's nobody on the Zoom? Wow,
What's that?
there's no, it's not a hybrid anymore.
No, we are not allowing that anymore,
Wow,
as of last week,
interesting.
so.
Is that an issue with the legal notice having Zoom on it?
That happened last week. The notices went out prior to the IT department telling us we can't do that. So, when somebody tries to go on, but,
So it's an IT decision, not a legal
Yes.
one? Oh, okay.
Interesting.
It can't be
It
done.
was suggested by IT and then I'm assuming imposed by the higher ups.
Oh,
We have-
Interesting.
good to
Be
know.
concerned the abutters notices would say it.
Yeah, I don't know what the notices said. I think we should progress. I mean, there's no abutters here. I think we should progress as is, and
Yep.
I mean, I guess the applicant should be aware. I don't know what the notices said with respect to Zoom, but
I can just intervene for one. There was a couple of abutters across the river that were notified. They actually came in to our office. They thought this was going to be like a 6-lot subdivision or something. And after we got done explaining to them what was happening, it was just subdividing the existing 2 uses here with lack of frontage. They were
okay.
They did not say they were going to call or come in or come to the meetings. They seemed satisfied with the explanation that we gave them.
Yeah, there's a phone number if there's technical difficulties, or somebody is trying to get in and can't. There's a phone number on here they could call and.
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned. I mean, I don't know what those notices said. I'm not overly concerned about it. The applicant's aware of it, so certainly if you have concerns about proceeding, we'd entertain that.
Yeah,
So-
no, we're good.
Okay, I figured as much.
Yeah.
All right, well, first order of business, which I overlooked once again, as Bob reminded me, is determining who's going to, no, I appreciate it, who's going to vote tonight. We've got 2 alternates, 4 regular members. So I will, to Chris and Ann, I'll leave it to you if you
I'll vote for the
either,
first one, and she can, since she was here when they did the second one.
for the rehearing. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't here, and she
For the-
was, so.
All right,
How's that?
that is, I like the logic, that works perfectly. So Mr. Merrill will be a voting member on this application. With that, I'll entertain a motion to close the public session, go to deliberative.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Any discussion on the application?
Seems perfectly straightforward. It seems like a good use of the variance.
I agree. I think that this is as you look at, these are large lots. There's certain, more than enough area to support the church and the residents. I think they're also, it'd be difficult to access it any other way, given wetlands, given Little River. So, utilizing the existing paved access makes sense as well. Well, it sounds like there's not too much
Not a lot of-
concern over this.
No. Do you want to go through the criteria, or do you think we're okay just?
I think if someone wants to make if someone could make a motion and maybe briefly go through the criteria, I don't think we have to go through it very in depth.
We do. My reading of I'm happy to make a motion. My reading of the criteria is that the project does meet all of the criteria for a variance. And clearly there is hardship here. So that's demonstrable. And so I would make a motion to approve the request for a variance approve the application for a variance from Article 4, Section 4.3, Schedule 2, to permit the proposed minor subdivision of the property located at 12 Little River Road.
I second.
Any discussion on the motion? Okay, then we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I hope the planning board sees it exactly as you folks did.
We'll give him a little note.
You do know you can stay. You don't have to leave now.
I guess.
Yeah, the excitement's-
It's not gonna pay me to be here, I really
The
don't.
excitement's about to begin.
He's going to go home and watch it on Zoom.
Good luck to you.
All right. Next order of business is a motion for rehearing of the Andersons' special exception and variance application. I should actually correct that. So this was, it addresses both, but in reviewing the motion, it appears to be just a motion for rehearing with regard to the denial of the variance application. Correct. This is it's a public meeting, not a public hearing. So no comments from the public. Since there is no one from the public, I don't think that'll be an issue. And I would entertain discussion. Ms. Sermon will ultimately be voting. As a reminder to the board, the question before us is whether we misinterpreted the law, overlooked facts that constituted error, for which we should rehear, basically bring them back for a new hearing on the application. And if we don't believe we made an error, then we would vote to deny. If we believed we made error and there was something to correct, we would vote to approve. Any discussion on the motion?
Yes.
I knew you would have some.
I believe that counsel for the applicant has completely missed what we were talking about when it comes to hardship. And my take on it has always been, and remains to be, that the hardship, which we feel is self-imposed, has to do with the use, not the physical constraints of the property, not distance from neighbors, not size, not setbacks, nothing to do with that at all. It's not the physical conditions of the property itself, it's the use. By already having applied for and been approved for a non-residential use on that property, they have fallen afoul of the definition of a bed and breakfast, which says that a bed and breakfast shall not be used for any other hospitality or business-related use. And I appreciate the lengths to which Mr. Passay has gone through analyzing the many prongs of the criteria, but I think we're ignoring the underlying fact that because of the use that exists on the property, yes, it can be a residence, yes, it can be the word barn, yes, it can be a bed and breakfast, but it can't be both a bed and breakfast and the word barn. And if they were to, for example, surrender one of those uses, they would be welcome to apply for another one. And they may, in fact, meet the criteria for it. But I do not believe that the current use, which was not an inherent physical constraint of the property itself, but was imposed by the applicant because of their own wish to have another hospitality or business-related use on the same property. That was always my interpretation and of the hardship. The hardship was as I said, imposed through the combination of uses that the applicant wished to have on a residential property.
Was I not listening carefully enough? That they've not asked for rehearing on the bed and breakfast issue, even though their submittal went on at length about the bed and breakfast.
Yes, they have. Yeah.
Well, sorry.
I believe they have, please.
Yeah, I don't believe they've asked for a rehearing on the special exception. But what they have argued, is basically that bed and breakfast, that the use is reasonable, as I read it, that the use is reasonable because bed and breakfast use is permitted in the RU zone. One of the things that we discussed was the fact that transient uses are not permitted. In the case of hotel motel, are not permitted in the RU zone. They have said bed and breakfast is a transient use and it is permitted by special exception.
So basically, you're saying their argument is it's okay for us to give them a variance so they can establish a motel on their property because it's okay to have a bed and breakfast on that property.
I'm not going to argue the point for them, but yeah, I think they were, it was not entirely clear because the use that they were asking is not really, addressed. So I think the questions were they asking for a bed and breakfast by variance or a hotel motel by variance? I mean, what they were asking for pretty clearly was transient, rental, transient occupancy.
Okay.
The short-term rental.
Short-term rental.
Right.
But did not their
Because we-
application specifically say bed and breakfast?
My recollection is that the special exception did.
Right,
The variance did not. They talked just about short-term rental.
right. Because remember they.
Because they were no longer arguing that they fit that definition. They were just saying that arguing that they should be permitted to have a
Short-term.
short-term rental.
Because remember we separated them, right?
Yeah.
We had that right.
To your point, I'm not sure it matters.
I don't know what a short-term rental is. Where do I find that in the code?
I've been told that people are calling in and trying to use Zoom. Technically, you can't run a meeting with Zoom right now because it's just broken and we only have one person out of 5 that can be here to work.
Okay.
So people have called in and said they were butters and were concerned. It's been off the legal notice for 48 hours.
Butters of the last application or the current?
He didn't say. And he's in bed sick, sending me this message.
Well, unfortunately,
It's already been made.
there's nothing, unfortunately, there's not much we can do. No, I appreciate that.
We had heard from a couple of people. Right now, we took this down because it's causing background noises, which literally made 2 committees not be able to do their jobs, and I wasn't gonna submit more to that till we get it fixed.
Okay.
We'll take care of it tomorrow, I'm sure. We'll get calls. We'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
And-
just wanted to bring that out.
Yep.
Yep, no, I appreciate it. Good to know, and I'll let you guys can deal with it with the applicant. And to the extent it relates to this rehearing, I'm not particularly concerned because there's no
There's
public.
no public comment on this. It must have
so-
been in regard to the last one.
And it can be viewed, so. But we'll have to, you and Barb can run with that one.
Thanks.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Put it back on.
What's that? No, you still have to suffer through this with us.
Okay, but
Back to Rick's question.
right. So their argument for the variance was that they couldn't rent the space long-term because the noise made by their
Right.
first variance made it unrentable, long-term.
Right, basically, yeah.
Then how can they rent it short-term? if the
Well-
Noise is still there.
because they're renting it. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. They have suggested, their attorney has suggested in this motion that they were not, that they were not arguing that that was a hardship, but that they were arguing that was just to provide context. I don't agree with that. That was not my take, certainly. And frankly, I think that's why we struggled to some degree, because we recognized that the use of the property as the word barn would make it difficult to have a long-term renter. But they did argue that as their hardship, and that was the primary one, is because they have the full right to have a long-term rental there with the appropriate approvals, but we didn't think that that would be an issue. Their point, Chris, was that people come that are interested in going to shows at the Word Barn or just being part of that process, and that's fun for people on a 1 to 2 night basis, but not for a long-term tenant that's going to have to deal with it every night. And they have shows multiple times a week during certain seasons, so it would be a lot.
But that's not a consideration that this board needs to take.
No, it is not, and in fact, I think
Underlying business condition.
it's a business condition, and I think to the extent that, they are arguing that the use, that, they are making that argument that the word barn use creates a hardship, which I know they're trying to distinguish that in this motion for rehearing, but that was not my take for the initial presentation. It is a self-imposed hardship. I mean, it fits the quote, where the conditions affecting the property have been caused or created by the property owner. That the hardship be caused solely through the manner of operation of the ordinance upon the particular property. In such a case, a variance should not be granted. And that's self-created hardship, and that seems to apply here, where they have argued that the concert use of the word barn prevents them from renting it as a long-term property. So.
They actually said that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I understand he's trying to distinguish it, and maybe that was not his intent, but it was certainly what was argued that night.
But what other reason?
And he doesn't get a chance to argue. This is to, right. And this is an opportunity to show error, not re-argue your case in a different manner.
Right.
Do you see any error?
I don't. I mean, I think we considered, we certainly took the time, we considered it carefully. I don't read anything in the motion for rehearing that changes the analysis that we took. I think we thought through it very carefully. I think we considered the issues and made our determination. And so, no. I mean, again, the question is whether we misconstrued the facts or we misunderstood the law, and I don't believe that was the case. Yeah, and again, I disagree with the sort of description of how we determined self-created hardship. I think we did consider the use, and I think that was proper, because that was the primary imposition on, or the primary reason for the short-term use. And I do think there's, the other argument that is made in here is that, we read the wrong purpose into the RU zone, and I disagree with that as well. I mean, there is no clear purpose for why transient, short-term rental use, transient use is prohibited in the RU zone, but I think, our reading of the purpose of the ordinance and our interpretation was a reasonable one. So, any other discussion?
Nope.
Concerns? So, I guess with that, would anyone like to make a motion?
I guess I will. Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we deny the request for a rehearing of case 21-8. That's it.
Okay.
I don't think we need to add any more than that.
And I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Thank you. That finishes our business for tonight. The one other, or I should say, one more item of business, which is approval of the minutes. This was for the August 17th meeting, and I am going to recuse myself from this vote because I wasn't present. I would ask that both Chris and Ann vote since you were.
And I also was not there.
Which is fine. We can vote with 4.
Thank you.
Thanks for sticking around.
See you, Doug.
See you, Doug.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I was the acting chair that evening. I've reviewed the minutes and I did not find any problems. My reading is usually not as close as Mr. Dilbar's, however, so somebody else might have spotted something and did.
Just line 27, and this may just be a typo, versus Mr. Guyer said the proposal is for 4 units with a limited common, comma, like something is missing. Is the word area supposed to be there, or common something?
Yeah,
seems like
and it is,
missing.
you're right, it is referred to later on. They called it something else.
Okay, because
Let me see if I can find it. We asked about it. What was that for?
Was it common use?
Or use?
Outside, they had like the little patios for the,
Yeah, they had a phrase for it.
Is it patios that are,
I suppose you could call it a common area with a limited common area.
that was.
limited common area is
Okay, that was what I-
is the word
all right, good.
for.
That's what I had,
yeah.
question, area question mark, excellent. And the only other one was similar to that, which again, these are just more like typos.
No, all good.
Line 48, Mr. Pryor said asked. I think it's probably just Mr. Pryor asked.
Whether the
Whether
limited
the-
common area.
Yeah, whether-
Yep,
here we are,
there
back to limited-
It's referential.
So there we go. I
Right,
do
said
contracts
asked.
for a living. So that's kind of, that's all I got.
And I'm an editor, so I should be able to catch this stuff.
It's quite all right. That's all I found. Otherwise, they were fine. Maybe
At
somebody.
line 115, I actually found something.
115?
Everybody's shocked by this.
No,
Sure.
no, good. 115.
Ms. Olson Murphy said they had a previous case where they couldn't say the owners couldn't rent. I was implying that we had one before where we had him said you had to have we could put it in the, let me start that again. That's the opposite of what I said. I was saying we did have one where we,
Could.
Oh, this is about whether we could make the
renter.
The rental lease.
restriction,
Yeah.
right, one has to
And
be
this makes
owner
me sound
occupied.
like I said that we were,
How would you like to rephrase it?
well, I didn't get that far. I found
Where they
something I was-
said the owners couldn't rent. We've had a previous case where they said the owners couldn't
Yeah.
rent.
That's
Is
his
that
word.
right?
Sounds good, editor.
Missing the word said.
And we have to
They're
get rid of
really-
couldn't, say, and replace that with said.
That's it. Yeah, there were too many couldn'ts in that sentence for me.
Right.
What about 204?
What about 204?
Mr. Davis said I and J.
One and,
That's the parts of the,
Oh, yeah, that's correct, actually. I and J are like storage of bulk materials and,
they
Okay.
don't apply to that.
right.
Right.
They're criteria for a variance, but they don't apply in this case.
Other than that, do you want a motion?
Anything else?
Not variance, special exception. No,
Motion to approve the
move
minutes?
to approve as amended.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Chair abstains and Mr. Thielbar abstains.
Awesome.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned. I was chided for not using the gavel enough by my family at my last
I think
meeting.
that's more dramatic if you.
Yeah, they said, you got a gavel, you're
Gavel,
gonna
yeah.
use it. And they weren't wrong.
You have Thor's, oh, that's yours. Thank
My
you.
apologies.
If you have Thor's hammer, you might as well use it. Is that it?
Yeah.
You have access to
exactly.
Thor's hammer, you might as well use it.
You got, yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna be chair, I want all of
Right.
the benefits. Which
Absolutely.
is primarily a hammer.
You're already getting the big paycheck.
Right, all you get, right.
Yeah, but you only should get half of them because you're gone half the time.
Well, that's true. If I can give me half a hammer, I'd do that.
Wow,
Ooh, harsh.
that was brutal.
Tough neighborhood.
I have repeatedly said that I'm not gonna come anymore than I can, so. I'm happy to do it, because
And we don't listen, we don't listen to you.
You don't, I know. I was gonna say, and then when you vote.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.